Hi everybody, this is Jennifer. Welcome to my channel where I talk about books, music, movies, and anything else that takes my fancy. But hey, we all know it's mostly books. So, today is day 6 of Litmas. Happy Litmas, everybody. Today's topic is hold on, let me check my notes. Hold on. My story with literature. So, let's talk about my story with literature. First thing I kind of vaguely remember is my mother reading to me, and we would like follow along with the words, and that's a lot of the way I started to learn reading is with my mom. So from there on, when I was a kid, when I was at school, I was always reading, and I loved the Scholastic book fairs, and this is one of my favorite books I ever got at a Scholastic book fair. It's called 6th Grade Can Really Kill You, but only if you let it. This is not the original. Earlier this year I got this from Abe Books, and it's not quite as awesome as I remember, but it was still pretty good. I loved this one. All right, so another thing I have is when I was in school, I had several teachers who would read books along with us. A couple of ones I remember are Charlotte's Web by E.B. White, and a book I don't have, unfortunately, but I should get it. They have it at my local used bookstore, but Where the Red Fern Grows by Wilson Rawls was, my teacher cried when she read that to us. I think it was in 5th grade, and then she showed us the movie, and that was heart-wrenching. Oh my goodness. Where the Red Fern Grows. So I also have a few more. I always loved the Babysitter's Club. I loved the Babysitter's Club. I read so many of these. I also read the Fudge books by Judy Blume. You know, Tales of 4th Grade Nothing, also known as Sheila the Great, Super Fudge, you know, Fudge Mania and all that stuff. I also read like Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, As Long as We're Together, and Here's to You, Rachel Robinson. There's a whole bunch that I could just, like, I can say all day. But the first book I remember being my absolute favorite book it's not this copy, but The True Confessions of Charlotte Doyle by Avi, which I bought at a drugstore that's no longer, I don't know if it was I think it might have been a drugstore, but it's no longer, you know, there anymore, so. And it's about a girl who gets on a boat, and the captain is mean. Oh, that captain is mean, and bad, and all kinds of crap happens to her. And yeah, I read this book over and over and over again, and I do not know why I didn't keep it, but I didn't. But yeah, The True Confessions of Charlotte Doyle was really what I remember as being my first favorite book. All right, so once I got done with kids' books, I went 2 ways. First off, I've heard this story on BookTube before, so I know it's happened to other people. My mom had an old box of like romance novels that she had stopped reading, but she hadn't gotten rid of them. They were up in a closet, and then one day I found them and I read all of them, and now I'm like, oh, I like romances. Yeah, I like them. So I read a lot of those. I also read a lot of John Grisham, Michael Crichton, who's the Robin guy who does all the medical ones? Robin Cook, and Dean Koontz. And then I got into Christopher Pike. I have a Christopher Pike around here, but I don't have it, so I'm not gonna go get it now. But yeah, so I pretty much, when I was like 12, between 12 and 14, I pretty much went straight into adult novels. So I never had a YA phase, which I mean, it lends a lot to my feeling now that I'm like, why would an adult want to read YA? Not that I'm not judging you if you do. I'm not. Because, you know, there are a lot of good YA books and there are a lot of bad adult books. So if you want to read a good YA over a bad adult book, I'm like, fine. But frankly, I thought teenagers were boring when I was a teenager. So I have no real interest in reading a whole bunch about them. Now, there are exceptions, More Happy Than Not by Adam Silvera being one of them, and the Illuminae series that I'm reading right now. So, from 12 to 14, it's romances, and John Grisham, and whatnot. And then something happened when I was 14. This movie came out starring Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise, called Interview with the Vampire. My Aunt Pam took me. I think that was, it was probably a few months after she took me to see Pulp Fiction, and then she took me to see Interview with the Vampire, and I dragged several adults to see Interview with the Vampire with me because I was 14. I had no income, yet I managed to see it 4 times in the movie theater. So I don't know how I conned people into doing that, but I did. So, from the ages of 14 to 18, Anne Rice, all day, every day. Anne Rice, all day, every day. Pretty much. I mean, it's an oversimplification because I was still reading Dean Koontz, I was still reading Christopher Pike, and the occasional, like, regular book. But I was pretty loyal to Anne Rice for like 4 years. I still kind of am, but not like to the extent I was back then. So yeah, that pretty much covers 14 to 18. And then this book came out. It's White Oleander by Janet Fitch. It was an Oprah's book club. This is my original copy I had when I was 18. So at this point, this is 19 years old now because I'm 37. And yeah, I was 18 because I bought it in, well, actually I bought it in 99. So hold on, it's 18. Yeah, 18. I've had this for 18 years. So this is the story of Astrid and her mother Ingrid, and her mother Ingrid gets thrown in prison for killing her boyfriend after he breaks up with her. And the writing in this, the story, it's from an outlook of a girl who was not quite my age, but it was getting there, and her journey, and her mother was so, it was so artistic, and it just got me right in my little, not exactly gothic little heart. So and it was just like, I was captivated by this one, and I really loved it. And I still do, even though I haven't read in a while. And I've been meaning to, but I haven't gotten around to it. Alright, so then I went off to college, and then one of the first things I discovered at the FSU bookstore was Lost Souls by Poppy Z. Bright. So I'd been into Anne Rice for like 4 years, and I was kind of ready for something else. So that's not to say that I just stopped, because I still read Anne Rice now. But yeah, this was just something different because it's less supernatural, even though technically it kind of still is, but it's less supernatural and it's more like gritty and down to earth and just, I don't know. Like, vampires have been my thing since I was like 14, and so this one I really loved. And then The other one is Drawing Blood, which is a ghost story, really. And so, yeah. After that, Poppy Z. Brite, still my thing. Love it so much. Wish there was more Poppy Z. Brite books coming out. Anyway, so in my 20s, it got a little bit more diverse, I have to say, because I started getting into like science fiction and like kind of fantasy. I'm not super into fantasy. In one of my previous Litmas books, in one of my previous Litmas videos, I talked about Pride and Prejudice, how I was in my early 20s and I started like, I just loved this one so much. The reason why, and this is so weird, the reason why I read this is because I was getting ready, I had a temp job, and I was getting ready for work in the mornings, and A&E, when it was still like the arts and entertainment, they really did stuff like showing the BBC miniseries of Pride and Prejudice and doing like Horatio Hornblower and stuff like that, when they were still like arts and entertainment. In the mornings when I was getting ready for work, they would show the BBC Pride and Prejudice miniseries, and I was captivated, and I'm like, I want to read that. So I read Pride and Prejudice, and it became my new favorite book that I read and reread. I'm a big rereader, and I'm probably gonna always be, which I like, because once I get into a story and once I know the characters, I like the characters. In series that I've given up on, I still sometimes miss the characters, like they're people I haven't met in a while. I know some people are gonna think that weird, but some people are gonna get what I'm saying. Anyway, so yeah. Pride and Prejudice. So let me see, hold on. Uh-oh. So yeah, I really got into, a lot of series. The Anita Blake Vampire Hunter series I was into for a good long while. A bit too long into, maybe. And I read like the Sookie Stackhouse ones, and but some other authors that I really got into, Douglas Adams, the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series, and the Dirk Gently series. I really like all of those. And I'm also pretty cool with I'm pretty fond of Neil Gaiman's writing. So now, you know, for the longest time, I just read a whole lot of series, and I read a whole lot of genre fiction. And recently, with the whole BookTube thing, when I've started watching it, I've watched it about like 6 months before I started actually making videos. I really started to want to read more like literary fiction. So I think I'm doing pretty good like that, but I still want to maintain the series I still love, like the Rivers of London series, but I really am trying to focus more on standalones and like trilogies at the most, maybe tetralogies or something like that, because I'm trying to get rid of I'm not trying to get rid of series, I'm trying to like read fewer series and read more standalones, because I feel like I've been missing out because I've got like all these books that I've not like seeing all these books. I'm like, I miss that, I miss that, I miss that, I miss that, while I had my nose stuck in a genre book, which is fine. You know, if that's the way you want to read, that's fine. And I'm not like, but that's what I did for like a decade, and now I'm like, all right, I want to read some other stuff. Anyway, so yeah, that is basically my story with books thus far. You know, it's not over by any means. And so if you have comments about anything I've just said, or, you know, if you want to discuss your own reading histories, please feel free to put something in the comments below. Yeah, you can also like, share, and subscribe, whatever. It's up to you. And thank you very much for watching, and happy Litmas. Bye.